Benjamin Netanyahu is dismissing claims that Elon Musk used a Nazi salute during an inauguration event last week. Netanyahu was replying to Musk's post, which reads, "The radical leftists are really upset that they had to take time out of their busy day praising Hamas to call me a Nazi." Okay. The prime minister tweeted this from Musk's own platform, by the way, over on X. "Elon Musk is being falsely smeared. Elon is a great friend of Israel. He visited Israel after the October 7 massacre, in which Hamas terrorists committed the worst atrocity against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. He has since repeatedly and forcefully supported Israel's right to defend itself against genocidal terrorists and regimes who seek to annihilate the one and only Jewish state. I thank him for this." All right, so the Anti-Defamation League, who previously drew criticism for calling pro-Palestine student protesters anti-Semitic, also would defend Elon on X, posting this. "This is a delicate moment. It's a new day, and yet so many are on edge. Our politics are inflamed, and social media only adds to the anxiety. It seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm, not a Nazi salute. But again, we appreciate that people are on edge. In this moment, all sides should give one another a bit of grace, perhaps even the benefit of the doubt, and take a breath. This is a new beginning. Let's hope for healing and work toward unity in the months and years ahead." Maybe this was a factor, though. This is reporting from The Atlantic. It says Musk carried on his own war of words with Jewish institutions, threatening to sue the ADL for $22 billion over its complaints about anti-Semitism on Twitter. It's worth pausing on his grandfather, a man whose weakness for anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and devotion to white supremacist ideology drew the worried attention of Jewish groups on two continents. So maybe they're not quite as unbiased as the ADL would like you to think that they are. Then, of course, the usual suspects, they all came to Musk's defense as well. Take a look at this.
What do you make, sir, of the suggestion that your son was making a Nazi salute up on stage?
It's absolute nonsense. Absolute rubbish. Rubbish. It's a universal salute, or as he said, throwing his heart out, I suppose.
They always want to pretend that everyone's Hitler. The problem with that is it just, after a while, it's crying wolf.
Just say what it is. He did some dumb shit because the guy is filled with autism, and you put him in front of a crowd and he just spazzed out.
Now, we all know that Elon Musk is excited about the Trump agenda and that he's prone to sudden, wild gesticulation.
Elon's thing, to grab your heart with one hand and then shoot it out in the sky, you're asking for it. You're asking for it. Maybe he's just not very well coordinated. I don't know.
There's a lot of problems with a lot of what was said, but let's see what actual white supremacists think about Musk and his salute, whatever it was.
And then the straight up, that was a serious Roman. It wasn't even like a subtle, like a wave, like one of these, like a Laura Ingraham. Remember when Laura Ingraham did that? That was a straight up Sieg Heil, loving Hitler energy. that was like a straight up with intensity Roman salute.
And here is some reporting from Wired. It says neo-Nazis are celebrating Elon Musk making two Nazi-like salutes during a speech to tens of thousands of Trump supporters on Monday. Elections come and go. Some elections are important, some are not, but this one really mattered, Musk said during his address inside the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., hours after Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the United States. "And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you." The response from the neo-Nazi community across the globe was instant and unanimous. Incredible things are happening already. Andrew Torba, the founder of Gab, a social media platform popular with anti-Semites and white supremacists, wrote over a picture of Musk giving the salute. Evan Kilgore, a right-wing political commentator, wrote on X, "Holy crap. Did Elon Musk just Heil Hitler at the Trump inauguration rally in Washington, D.C.? This is incredible." And Kilgore later wrote, "We are so back." The entire neo-Nazi movement seems to be eating it up, says Nick Martin, an investigative journalist who closely tracks extremist groups and runs the online publication The Informant. He gave 2 unmistakable Nazi salutes, and they got the message loud and clear: we are effing back. The administrator of a Nazi meme channel on Telegram wrote under a clip of Musk giving the salute. Members of the group responded with the lightning bolt emoji, a well-known neo-Nazi reference to the SS. So what do Germans think about the salute? They have a lot of thoughts as well. Michelle Friedman, a prominent German-French publicist and former deputy chair of the Central Council of Jews in Germany, described Musk's actions at an event after Donald Trump's swearing in as the US president as a disgrace, and said Musk had shown that a dangerous point for the entire free world had been reached. Charlotte Knobloch, the president of the Jewish community in Munich and Upper Bavaria, described the gesture as highly disconcerting. But she said it was not as significant as Musk's recent attempts to meddle in German politics, where he has endorsed the far-right Alternative für Deutschland, or the ADL, ahead of next month's federal election. So finally, how has Musk's actions, how have they affected him and his public view, the way people are seeing him? A recent Wall Street Journal poll found that Tesla CEO Elon Musk is becoming more unpopular in the public's eye as the prominent Trump ally begins his leadership of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. The Wall Street Journal poll published last week found that Musk's favorability rating stands at 40% with the public, while 51% disapprove of the billionaire Tesla CEO. As noted by Wake Up to Politics newsletter author Gabe Fleischer, Musk previously had a favorability rating that was dead, even with his unfavorability rating tied at 45% back in October. So one person has faced some consequences for all of this Musk backlash. A meteorologist from a local news outlet has actually gotten fired for criticizing Musk salutes. Brian Tyler Cohen tweeted about the incident. Sam Cuffle, a meteorologist for CBS 58, has reportedly been fired for criticizing Elon Musk's arm gesture on her personal social media account. Jackson, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, Elon Musk's dad referring to the gesture as a universal gesture. Not really, not so much. You can say that you're waving, you can say whatever you want to say. The thing that frustrates me about this whole conversation is that we're having this conversation at all, right? First of all, if you do something like that, you know what it looks like. You know what the press is going to say. You know how it's going to look. Elon Musk has never denied it. All he did was he tweeted a bunch of Nazi puns on Twitter. And he's like, haha, they're going to get so mad about this, right? The problem with having this conversation for about a week now, this happened last week, is that instead of actually discussing, look, this guy's a Nazi, what do we do now? We're just discussing whether or not he is a Nazi, whether or not he intended to do what he did. The comedian referring to him as being autistic and saying he's full of autism and that's why he did this. That is not an excuse. People in the autistic community, people who are autistic, are speaking out saying, autism doesn't have anything to do with this. Stop misrepresenting whatever autism is and making excuses for people like Elon Musk, who has a track record of supporting right-wing ideologies. And since he's made that gesture, he has been addressing right-wing factions in Germany and in Italy. And none of that seems to matter to these people who are defending the gesture. So what do you make of not just the conversation that we're having, but the fact that we have to have it in the first place?
Well, first, there's a lot to say about this. First, you can't have it both ways. Either Elon Musk is Jimmy Neutron boy genius, or he's too autistic to speak in front of a crowd. It can't be both things. He's the wealthiest man on the planet on paper, at least. He's supposed to be this magnificent, brilliant person who's here to solve all of our problems, yet he doesn't have the social or emotional awareness to not throw up the Sieg Heil. No. And furthermore than that, Elon Musk is completely transparent in terms of who he is. I have had a deep spiritual hatred in my heart for him for over a decade now. I always saw through him. How is this one man accomplishing all of these things? Oh, because he's not. He's just a bunch of hype and government subsidies. This dude spent years and years just flat out lying to the public about what is going to happen with his companies, that he didn't invent any of those products. He just bought them. He's a venture capitalist and a fraud. That's what he is. He's a fraudulent, born rich venture capitalist. In 6 months, we're going to have a self-driving solar car that can go from New York to California without stopping once. Never happened. And he would say that all the time about stuff. 13 years ago, he said we was going to be on Mars. Never happened. He's a liar. And he doesn't, he's not the person engineering or making any of these products. Now, the fact that we're talking about this in the first place shows to me a lot of the repercussions of such an individualistic society. Because how much do you have to lie to yourself to pretend like this stuff makes sense or to act like you're not seeing what you're seeing? Donald Trump is by far, or at least possibly, the most ridiculous human being I've ever heard of in my almost 33 years of life. I've never seen someone more ridiculous, more unqualified, more undeserving, more pathetically, pathologically stupid than Donald Trump. And yet tens of millions of Americans do mental backflips so that they can see this man who was projected in The Apprentice, even though that's not who he is. So like Elon Musk, he can do all this like, oh no, that's not what that was. Even though this is a man who lies about his gaming stats because he wants a bunch of 14-year-old libertarian virgins to worship him, right? He's trying to appeal to the Pepe the Frog meme crowd. This dude changes his name on Twitter to Kekius Maximus. He's a dork, he's a dweeb, he's a loser, arrested development. He is a child in a grown man's body. So again, it's like the fact that we're having this conversation at all just goes to show how much keeping up with this cult is just about people not wanting to be wrong. I can't be wrong. I mean,
yeah, and it's important to be wrong sometimes, or it's important to acknowledge when you are wrong sometimes, because you will be wrong sometimes. And I think that is a totally normal thing to do, and it's the way we all learn and grow. Speaking of being wrong, I do want to correct something I said earlier. I referred to the Alternative for Deutschland party as the ADL. It's not the ADL, it's the AFD. Just want to get that on record. But also, I during the break, Jackson and I were talking, and I said this, and I apologize in advance to all the 12-year-olds, but I did say that Elon Musk reminds me of a 12-year-old boy, like an 8th grade child, right? And I think like hands down across the board, 12-year-olds are the worst humans on the planet. And I'm sorry, we were all there. We were all that at one point. If you are 12 and you're watching this, which I don't know why you're watching this, but if you are, you'll get over it, you'll grow past it. But Elon Musk has chosen that to be his identity forever. His sense of humor is really stuck in the 8th grade, like all of his obsession with things like 69. Can I say that? Sorry if I wasn't supposed to say that. But yeah, like it's very childish, but this is the guy who has so much power in the world. And a lot of that power is derivative of the fact that we give it to him, right? He presents himself. It's a brand. He tells us that he is the richest man in the world. So a lot of people say, oh, he must be so smart because he has all this money and he was able to acquire all this money. When really, I mean, he started off with all the money that he had, right? He inherited a lot of his money. He bought a lot of the companies that he runs now. He's not necessarily a genius. You can say he's autistic, and so that has something to do with it. But the autism community is like, please leave us out of this, So there's a lot to consider here. And I do resent the fact that this whole conversation is really just a way to keep the people occupied and busy while Elon Musk is going to continue pushing his very right-wing ideologies. If you want to call him a Nazi, or if you don't want to call him a Nazi, that's your prerogative. But the fact remains that he is pushing very, very right-leaning ideologies, not just here, but across Europe, and other European nations who have dealt with actual Nazism in the past are calling him out for it. And I think that speaks volumes.